everyone. It's lovely to be with you all at convention. So, this afternoon's session's component on Dharma, the maintenance of order, is at the heart of our convention theme, connectivity and responsibility. To provide some context around why this is, let us consider the definition of Dharma. Dr. Ravi Ravindra, physicist, philosopher and religious studies scholar, and who is also proficient in Sanskrit, defined Dharma as the responsibility for the maintenance of order. Now, obviously there are other definitions. However, according to Dr. Ravindra, this is the essence of what Dharma is. This is because there is a reciprocal relationship that exists between ourselves and the divine. The one sacrifices itself that we may exist, providing for our existence. Now, I remember in the World Congress in Sydney in 2000, there was a session such as this, and one of our brothers from the Indian session started his talk with the following statement, which I've never forgotten. A free being limited itself that we may exist. So, as the one sacrifices itself, we in turn are required to sacrifice self-interest at our own level to sustain the gods. Thus, the whole universe is said to be created as a yajna, a Y-A-J-N-A, that's Sanskrit, a sacrifice. When we ignore this reciprocal relationship based on self-interest, it upsets the balance of order within the universe. We are called, on our spiritual quest, to maintain order by listening to our conscience, thereby acting in accordance with the divine will. In essence, putting aside self-interest and acting for the whole, for the one. Now this, as we all know, is at the heart of all spiritual traditions, epitomised in both the Christian and Hindu traditions, where Jesus and Arjuna respectively ultimately declare to do the Lord's will. However, in being able to do the Lord's will at our own level requires a reorientation in terms of the motives for how we behave. As behavioural psychologists tell us, and rightly so, the environment motivates our behaviour. For example, reward and punishment, I like this, I don't like that. However, a reversal of this process is required, where we are motivated from within, i.e. from conscience. Remember, the yogi is one who is serene and calm, both in success and failure. In other words, there are no likes and dislikes. Now, as an aside, my mother-in-law is such a yogi, because when her prospective son-in-law went to iron his Hindu wedding dress, and even though his fiancée said, do not touch the iron, and he burnt the top part of it, she was cool and calm as a cucumber. Didn't flint, didn't bat an eyelid. So, you know, she's really good. Yes. Right. In suggesting that the maintenance of order, Dharma, is at the heart of our convention's theme, connectivity and responsibility, let us consider a question. Can we be responsible without any sense of connectivity? We can rephrase the question. If we are connected, can we be irresponsible? As you've probably gathered, the answer to both of these question iterations is no. This is because when there is some degree of connectivity, i.e. alignment between our innermost self and the personality, then we act rather than react. In other words, we're doing our Dharma, maintaining order in the universe at our own level, following the will of the divine, rather than following our own personal interests and desires. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna points this out to Arjuna that through yoga, one has clarity of insight and therefore acts rather than reacts. In the Christian tradition, this is symbolized in the statement that we no longer see through a glass darkly, because yoga in essence is having clarity of perception free from personal bias and prejudice. The second aphorism in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras alludes to this in his definition of yoga, namely that yoga is the restrictions, the fluctuations of consciousness. So when these fluctuations subside, we're able to see more clearly. We can perceive situations as they are. And when this clarity of perception arises, we are in effect connected, in conscious union with the One, and therefore we act responsibly. If we're not acting responsibly, then we're simply not connected. We're not seeing clearly and are just behaving to satisfy our personal needs and wants. Now, as you probably realised, the argument comes in terms of what constitutes responsibility. Who can say of another that they're acting responsibly and assess their motives? Ultimately, we can't, because everyone has their own level of understanding and awareness and behaves accordingly. However, basic ethics at least indicates how we should behave. For example, in the feet of the Master, it says, among other things, to speak kindly and not to gossip. Now, as members of the Theosophical Society, the onus is on us, should we choose to accept it, to be connected and responsible more so than our fellow human beings in society at large. This is because, as you all know, our first object is about forming the nucleus of a new society, a society of divine wisdom, one which is based on unity rather than distinctions of culture, gender or ethnicity. This, of course, is the Mahatma's vision, to have a more benevolent intermingling of the high and the low, of the alpha and the omega of society, so as to restrain the combative natural instinct of man through the soothing influence of a brotherhood and of the practical application of Buddha's esoteric doctrines. So this, as you all know, is from the Mahachohan's letter. Throughout our theosophical literature, there is lots of material to get inspiration and encouragement to live a more connected and responsible life. Our co-founder, H.P.B Lodge, in her letter to the 5th Annual Convention of the American Section, so this is in April 26, 27, 1891, which is 13 days before her passing on May 8th, she said quite simply, "Be an impersonal force for good." Now, a key point to keep in mind with the statement is that at a deeper level, we, as personalities, are not doing anything at all for the Theosophical Society. It is the divine working through us. It is only the bodies, mind, emotions, physical, the forces of nature that act. Now, this is symbolized in Hinduism, where there are two birds seated on a tree. One bird is the silent witness, Atman or spirit, whilst the other eats the fruit, matter. If we can remember this idea, it will help us in our spiritual journey to be more detached and open-hearted on a daily basis, as we will not take things too personally. Now, whilst our literature is an excellent source for information on Theosophy, what is the best inspiration we have to implement the Mahatma's vision? Each other. I mean, we're not creating a virtual nucleus of unity. Hence the importance of coming together regularly as we are here, and especially at lodge level, where we are creating a centre for the Mahatmas to send out their energy into the world, which, without our sacrifice, i.e. giving our time and energy to lodge work and supporting our lodge president, they, the Mahatmas, would not be able to do. Without God, it cannot be done. Without humans, it will not be done. So, each day we have a choice, which is what Renee was referring to earlier. Whether to be connected and responsible, thereby working for the whole, or allowing self-interest to motivate, thereby creating a disconnect and behaving irresponsibly. The cross in the Christian tradition symbolises this choice. At the intersect of the vertical and horizontal axes, at each moment, we can stay at the same level of self-interest on the horizontal axis, or we can change levels and act out of selflessness and be yoked up the vertical axis of being consciously connected with the One. thereby maintaining order in the universe. Now, as members of the Theosophical Society, we are also reminded about this choice. In the essay on karma, at the end of Light on the Path, we are warned about the consequences of having this knowledge and acting selfishly. Through our studies of Theosophy and of ourselves, the big book, and perhaps the only book we should read, we come to the tree of knowledge and therefore cannot continue to behave out of ignorance. And as such, if we do, the karmic consequences increase enormously. Now, of course, we as human beings have a great propensity to delude ourselves. You know, let's be honest. It is a challenge to look at ourselves objectively with self-knowledge, to see our strengths and our limitations. However, at the onset of death, there is a moment where there is no delusion around our motives for how we've behaved on earth. In the Egyptian tradition, there is Anubis, the god of the underworld. At death, weighs our heart against a feather. We're also told today, you know, from people who've had near-death experiences, that they have a life review, and as such, report there is complete objectivity around their earthly activities, which are assessed by a more advanced being and consequently accepted by themselves without personal prejudice. So this, of course, is the issue around being connected and responsible, as St. Paul reminded us when he said, I die daily. Can we die at each and every moment to our personal interests and desires, thereby maintaining order in the universe at our own level, especially in terms of the work we're doing for the society? To die daily requires what J. Krishnamurti called the flame of attention. It takes great energy to focus, to be aware, to know thyself, and to determine one's motives for behaviour from moment to moment. Hence the dictates for living a clean life, having a pure heart and an open mind, which gives us this energy. If we can't be connected and responsible here and now at this level, in the small things, then we will not be able to do it at the same, at a deeper level, with greater things. So, to sum up, if we are to maintain order in the universe and thereby act responsibly, we need to be consciously connected to something greater than ourselves. In other words, Dharma is only possible if there is yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is only possible if there is yoga, conscious unity and insight. This is the challenge for us in being connected and responsible. Can we forego our personal desires at one level, thereby moving to a deeper level, having clarity of perception to be connected and act for the good of the one? So I'll just close with a 19th century saying which epitomizes what we've been considering this session as a reminder as we go about our daily life. Knead love into the bread you bake, wrap strength and courage in the parcel you tie for the woman with the weary face, hand trust and candour with the coin you pay to the man with the suspicious eyes.